All right, welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live on this Friday morning. Myles here in New York. Again, watching markets that are lower, all the action happening in some of those heavily shorted names. We're going to stay on that story all day, but let's take a step back and talk about another sector of the market that we've certainly watched closely over the last year and could have a very interesting year ahead, and that is what's happening over in the pharmacy space. Joining us now to discuss everything happening within that business, we're joined by Syed Husain. He's a managing director over at PJ Solomon. Syed, thanks for joining the show this morning, and I'd love to just start with how COVID changed what the pharmacy sector thought of itself, what businesses thought they could do, should do, need to do, and how we're starting to see that maybe play out.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And you know, COVID has had a huge impact on the world of pharmacy. And really what I think it's done is it's hastened the transformation that was already occurring in pharmacy to a really frontline healthcare accessible location. And what I mean by that is, you know, I think when you look at the availability of testing and how it was ramped up so quickly, and then, you know, ultimately the plan to really leverage the pharmacy footprint for the vaccination, that really has shown the tremendous need for the pharmacy footprint as well as the pharmacies themselves.
How big a risk do you think Walmart's role in the pharmacy space is to a likes of a CVS and a Walgreens? Walmart, I would say, has been out in front of trying to get people into its stores, whether it's for a vaccine or first testing. What type of risk does that present to the big pharmacy chains?
Well, you know, I think Walmart's, you know, always been there. I think they've now, you know, gotten into, you know, broader offerings that really CVS Health and Walgreens, you know, had already begun. For example, the CVS Health hubs and really, you know, leveraging other usage for their footprints, as well as Walgreens, you know, recent alignment with Village MD and leveraging their footprint along, you know, to be primary care access points. So Walmart has now, you know, gotten into that. So I don't know that there's dramatic risk. I think, you know, that the big pharmacy chains always expected Walmart to be a stronger player, and they were already a pharmacy player.
Syed, what do some of the business combinations going forward potentially look like? I mean, there are definitely some startups that are in the pharmacy business now. You also have all these telehealth players that have come out. Does it make sense for some of the big pharmacy chains to make those kinds of acquisitions?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Julie. When I think about M&A activity in the pharmacy space, I really, you know, look at kind of three reasonings. One, economic headwinds and tailwinds. Tailwinds being, you know, margin compression, headwinds being margin compression, and then tailwinds really being the amount of capital that's available to invest in healthcare and pharmacy. And then to your point, competitive disruption, right? You know, new players like Amazon getting into pharmacy, Medley Pharmacy, you know, a digital player that's out there, as well as things like Hims and Hers that have more of a direct-to-consumer kind of platform. I think what that's really done is it's caused the large strategics to really take a step back and rather than talk about it, really invest and have an omni-channel presence. I don't think that, you know, the future is one or the other. It's not going to be all digital or all physical. I think you have to have an omni-channel presence, because one thing we've learned through COVID is consumers want a choice. They want a choice that's convenient for them. They want accessibility that is convenient for them, and a true omni-channel, you know, gives them that. So I think what you'll see is M&A activities and you know, with financial sponsors as well as large strategics, looking at, you know, filling in those gaps so that that everyone has that true omni-channel presence.
We learned this week that Roz Brewer is coming in as the CEO of Walgreens. Do you think mission critical for her is splitting up the Walgreens Boots Alliance business and just getting Walgreens focused on its U.S. core pharmacy operations?
I do. I think that's a good way to look at that. I think her, you know, mission critical is probably doing that, but at the same time, very quickly getting familiar with the U.S., you know, pharmacy and healthcare business in preparation for vaccination efforts and the transformation within the pharmacy business model to get pharmacists to practice at the higher end of their license. So I think those are, really the primary things that she needs to jump over. I think, corporate will handle kind of, the separation and the transition of the wholesale business. But she very quickly, now's the time, right? Now's the time. And she really needs to become an expert on the pharmacy business per se, especially as the pharmacy business model transitioned for less of a dispensing role and more of a primary care healthcare role, where pharmacists are practicing at the higher end of their license with adherence programming, vaccination, and assisting payers with improving star ratings and lowering healthcare costs. Remember, one of the key things is specialty pharmacy is growing at a bigger amount than any other segment within pharmacy for that pharmacy dollar. And those specialty drugs are expensive. They're great breakthrough therapies, but they're expensive and they require high touch usage. And so clinical pharmacists need to be involved ensuring that those products are used correctly.
Really interesting stuff, Syed, and I think something that we maybe don't think enough about the role that pharmacists play in this whole system, and it certainly sounds like it's going to be a larger role within the health system as we go forward in the years ahead. And I hope we'll stay in touch to talk about that. Syed Husain, Managing Director at PJ Solomon, really appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a great day.